Hey guys, welcome to today's video where we're going to take a look at ATEasy. This is going to be the introductory video, just kind of the first part of this series where we're going to take a deep dive into the software. So in this video, expect to see the IDE, kind of learn what ATEasy is, and just get kind of the lay of the land here. So yeah, that's what we're going to start with today. So the first thing is, what is ATEasy? This is simple to answer. It's a test executive and test development IDE. Now, this test executive utilizes a script-based test setup instead of like your block-based. One of the competitives, LabVIEW, it's kind of block-based. You pull in these little blocks, change the settings in it, and then that's how you do it. This is more script-based. So this is more like you'd be in VB.net and something like that. So if you're familiar with scripting, this would probably be like the choice for you if you don't want to do block-based. ATEasy is definitely more geared towards somebody that's more familiar with scripting, but it's also not pure code like you would if you were to develop in like C# or VB.net or something like that, where everything's just code and it's really hard to maintain unless you're the developer. So it kind of brings in the ease for less technical people to be able to maintain the code while still having this full control over what you're doing from a scripting standpoint. Okay, we answered the what. Now let's answer the why. Why ATEasy? And for me, the choice is because it's a script-based program. It still keeps that structure in there to make it simple, yet it's all scripting. So it's not like, say, LabVIEW, where you're dragging in blocks and you can get this quite a spider web of connections and all of that. It's just code. So it's something that's more familiar for me. Definitely there's pros and cons to that, but for me, that's a pro. You may ask yourself, well, why even bother? Why do I need a test executive at all? I can just write this all in VB.net or all in C# or Python, and that's what I'm going to do. And that's great for you, but maybe not right for your company. So this decision really comes in of what's best for the company, and keeping that structure and keeping it where it's easier for somebody to maintain is important. ATEasy has always kept backwards compatibility with all of their old versions of the program. So you don't necessarily have forward compatibility, but you do have backwards compatibility. To if you developed it on ATEasy 10, you should still be able to run it on version 13, for example. You don't have to worry so much about legacy code basically getting phased out. Then you go, well, why should I even automate my tests at all? And the answer to that is for consistency and data collection. Your technicians can sit there and write on paper all day long, but it's going to vary from technician to technician of what quality of work you're getting, and you may not get all of the data. You pick and choose what you write when you have it written. So as a test engineer, you may make the decision of, oh, I'm only going to take these data points because they're critical, and I'm not going to have the technician write it down. But when you're doing it with an automated program, you can capture waveforms and save the waveforms and do all sorts of other stuff that would just be way too cumbersome for a technician. So really, you could take all this data and put it into a database or put it into a test report that really kind of brings out your test department and makes it shine. And one thing I do want to mention on this why is this isn't necessarily a hobby level program. I know a lot of the stuff I do on the channel is hobby related. This is definitely more professional. So this is directed towards like the test engineers, the engineering techs, those kind of people that might be watching the channel. So yeah, really the why is for test consistency, for having that structure to how the code's gonna be developed, and making sure that your legacy code's still gonna work far into the future. Okay, so now let's answer the how, because we already did the what and the why, so how is the next thing? First, you're going to need to get yourself an ATEasy license. Okay, so if you don't have a license set up on the computer yet, this is the first thing you're going to see. It's going to be no license found. This is where you can activate a trial license if you're just checking this out for the first time and you want to get an idea how it works. One of the great things about Marvin Test is that at least back when I took the class with them, they're pretty flexible with these trial licenses where you just shoot them an email and they'll kind of extend it for you if you need a little bit longer to try it out and make sure it's like what you want to buy. One of the notes about the trial licenses is the only real limitation with it is you can't build your executable. You can still run it and test it and like get a feel for if you like everything. You can run basically as if it's the full license. The only thing is you can't build deployable executables that you can go put on another system. So with your hardware license or network license or any of these, once you have that license, you only need it for development. You don't actually need it on your systems that you're deploying it for. There's no runtime license that you have to buy or anything like that. You just have your development license, and then you can build your executables and run them on the system, and then you just have your development license that you're using to develop code. Because you're not going to want to run these in the debug environment in the IDE. You're going to want to build these executables so that way the technicians aren't in there changing code, messing it up. All right, so when you first open up, this is going to be the screen that you're met with, your startup screen. It's generally going to show you your recent opened applications, but let's go ahead and just build a new one. So we're going to use the wizard here to build us a new one. Let's just call this one vid, short for the video. All right, and then we'll just create a workspace that goes along with it. And then we're going to make a test application that has the three main drivers. These three main drivers are the test executive, the profile, and the fault analysis. These were written by Marvin Test. It gives you kind of that look and feel for your technicians of it. You can always make your own test executive in here that are like, how they're going to be running it on the system. But these are ones that are included by Marvin Test. The main thing I want to note on these is if you want to make changes to the test executive provided by Marvin Test, make sure you rename that file when you save it. If you save it as testexec.driver in the default folder, what's going to happen is when you update to the next version the next year, it's going to write over it because it writes over all those default drivers that were provided. So definitely make sure if you're going to modify any of these main drivers here, you save them under a different name. They give you all the code. You're able to modify them and use them however you like. One of the great things is it's just already provided for you. It's kind of years of development if you were building your own already done. So it's really convenient. All right, so we'll just go ahead and create all of this. Another thing you have is the system. We'll take a look at that here in just a second. Okay, so now this is what you're left with. You have your workspace, which is this. You have your project, and then you have your system and your programs. Normally, the way I use ATEasy, I only have one project to a workspace. I like to kind of keep it all as one. I don't like it where I have a ton of stuff in one workspace. I start to get confused when I do that. It's kind of like how you end up using Eclipse. Some people in Eclipse, they have everything in one workspace, and then other people keep it broke down. So definitely the way you utilize your workspace and your projects may vary from person to person. But other than that, it kind of stays the same. Your programs are going to be like your ATP or FTP you're trying to run, and then your system's going to be like the system setup of your ATE or your workbench that you're using. It's what you're deploying to. You can still have like program specific libraries, but most of your libraries are going to be pulled in your system here. All of your drivers are only in the system. You don't pull drivers in within the programs. So then you also have commands. Commands can be in both. Procedures can be in either. And the procedures were very important in the older versions of ATEasy. However, like your program procedures, you can now kind of get away without using so much now that they have variables within test. You used to only have the global variables and then like variables within procedures, and I think you had variables within events. But you didn't have them within tests. But they now added that to the tests themselves, which is, again, as I spoke to, you have your backwards compatibility, but not necessarily your forward. So if you build something in 2024 that, version 2024 that has variables in the test, you may not be able to use that in version 12, which is 2023's version. But yeah, back to kind of our layout here. This is really it. Think of your drivers as more like a class. It's like a section of reusable code. A driver is not necessarily an instrument. It can be. You can have an instrument as a driver, but we have like the test executive as a driver. So let's actually just run this real quick as it's built. We're not going to get into too much of the code or any of that on this video, but let's go ahead and just click run so you can see what this test executive looks like. So this is the test executive that Marvin Test provides, and you can see that profile and the fault drivers in there as well being used. So this is that. That's what that provided test executive looks like. Obviously, you can remove the test executive and build it however you want. You could just have it where it just starts running code, you know, the test immediately. But yeah, that's what the provided test executive looks like. Let's get a little more familiarized with ATEasy itself, like the IDE, but we're, again, not going to really get into code. So one of the important things to know how to find is the programming language help. So you have this, that's, you know, your old school Windows help file, but it's really like, this is going to be a tool that you're going to use a lot, is the programming language help. It has, you know, everything from like, let's just see how we can manipulate a string. So we can right trim or left trim it, or we can mid, you know, we can join. We have all of these different procedures that we can do. So you're definitely going to use this a lot, especially when you're first getting started, just to kind of see what you can do within the programming language, or more specifically, what's going on in the Marvin Test specific things, the things that, you know, they wrote. And then another thing that you're going to end up using a lot is your watch list. So you have this watch list here where you can have a variable. So let's insert a string. So we have this string and we want to watch the string. We can drag that into the watch list, and then we can, you know, print. Okay, so we can go ahead and run this real quick, so that way we can hit that breakpoint and see, you know, the string has a value of value, because that's what we set it to. So s equals value. Yep. And then we can see that in the watch list. So definitely you got your breakpoint, so that way you can see what's going on. So we go ahead and click continue. We can see where it printed test to that. But yeah, so you have your watch list that you're going to end up using a lot when you're debugging code. Definitely an important one to do. You can step through code, and then you also have like the form it and the test it. So like, say you have a form, let's go into test executive, it's going to have forms. You have a form that you need to edit. You can click form it. It may throw an error. No, it didn't throw an error. So yeah, we were able to form this form. So yeah, you can click that button and it'll just, you know, bring up your form so you can kind of debug the form itself without having to run the code to get to that point. Okay, so the last one I really want to talk about are these tests over here. So you saw me write that little bit of code there. Let's just go ahead and get rid of our breakpoints. So you have your task and your test. So over here you have your task list, and then you have all the tests under it. So you can, you know, insert another task. So say you have your ATP that's written and you have it broken down into sections. The tasks are a nice way to organize all of these tests. That way it's not just one long blob. So you can have your paragraph sections of your task, or you can have just these groups of tests that you want to do. You can have these tasks and tests. So your task is literally just kind of like a section that holds them, and then you have the tests underneath it. You have a couple of different test types. Let's just go ahead and insert another test. Go to properties, and we will see that this one's currently set to a min-max, but you can have an other, a reference, a refx, a tolerance, a precision, or a string. So the string is one that's pretty commonly run. So we want to, let's just set this one real quick to see how it works. We want it to, have the string test. So then we'd have test result equals test. And that would be a passing test because the string equals what it's wanting. So this one, we'll make it a failing. So we want a min and a max, and we want our minimum is 1 and our maximum is 9. Let's just say it's 1 volt to 9 volt. We can set our units to volts. And then we are just going to have test result equals, and then we'll just set this to 25. So this will be a failing test. It'll fail high. Let's go ahead and run this real quick and start. And you'll see that, it broke it down. We have our unit, volt, and our min and our max and what our result was. And that one was a fail. And this one was a pass because they actually equaled this. And this one had no status because the test result was not set. We also didn't set a min and max. So that now you can see that breakdown of the tasks and your tests. You'll get this, you end up with this new header for every change of type, because the strings have these different, it's set up different, it's structured differently, so they put a new header to make sure. So if we have, say, another min max underneath it, so insert test after, and we'll make this one a passing one. So we'll give it a 1 and a 5, and this one's going to be, let's just say it's ohms, and we're going to say test result equals 3. Okay, we can run that. You'll see how that structures. So see, you get, as long as you're staying with the same data type or test type, you have the same header, but it's going to enter a new header for each one. Now, you could always make your own test executive that builds it differently, but this is just how the default test executive runs it. So this could actually be built as its own executable. So when you have a license, you can just do the execute. And once we've executed, this will actually be its own and use this executable that we built. So now this is running standalone without the executive, and we can just go ahead and run it. But again, you need a license to be able to execute. If you are running on the trial license, you won't be able to do the execute here. But this is now a portable executable that I can go put on any system, even if it doesn't have a license on that system. Okay, well, that was a lot to take in, and we have a lot more to cover. We barely scratched the surface here. So we saw exactly what ATEasy is, why you might want to use it, and kind of got you the look and feel of how to get into it. We didn't necessarily dive deep into any of the code space or, writing a program or any of that. So we'll definitely do like maybe a video specifically on drivers, one specifically on the tasks and tests. We'll do some specific videos that'll dive deeper into some of these things. Our next video will be on Marvin Test's demo board. So they sent us a demo board to try it out. And basically what this demo board is first, it's the board they use in the class. So if you attend the class to learn ATEasy, you'll be using this board. It's a trainer. It basically will simulate both your unit under test and your test equipment. It responds to Skippy commands the same as any of these instruments behind me. It is actually really useful. I've used it before. It's got a ton of features. They have a lot of really good examples. We'll probably take a look at a couple of the examples while we're checking out this demo board. And then we can do some more in-depth videos on this stuff. So I hope you guys liked it. I hope you want to see more of this because I'm excited to kind of first showcase what I've learned over the last couple of years using ATEasy, and second, just kind of teach you guys what I know. So yeah, I hope you guys liked the video, and I'll see you in the next one.